This is an epic failure by Secret Service.
Do you think it's possible the CIA would have actually been trying to take him out?
It's a weird movement that that guy makes with his rifle. The camera guys are actually... They responded quicker than the Secret Service.
You know, now Hunter Biden, who also is a felon and crack addict, is now sitting in on the majority of like White House meetings.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole country.
Like, that's your source. You are living in an alter reality.
Yesterday, July 13th, Sunday, former President Donald Trump was speaking at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. A gunman with a long gun on a nearby rooftop shot at the president, struck him in the ear, also killed a spectator, critically wounded a couple others. We asked our good friend Ben Wallick, who's been on the show before, former Navy SEAL for about a decade, and then did about another decade of contracting with government agencies, private organizations, as well as with the CIA, protecting case officers overseas. Needless to say, more expertise in some of this conversation we're going to get into today than Jacob or I. Mm-hmm. But very dark day for our country. It was an interesting day personally for Jacob and I. We were celebrating, Jacob and I are brother-in-laws, for those that don't know, but we were celebrating my daughter's birthday. It wasn't her birthday, but just celebrating yesterday. So we were here at our house, and it was a strange day because we had a bunch of kids in the yard playing.
It was hard to stay focused.
Yeah.
It really was hard.
Meanwhile, had, you know, constant news footage going on inside.
Yeah, we had a neighbor party at my house last night, like a block party thing.
Yeah.
It was like everyone was hanging out, and then it was like everyone was on their phones.
It was
hard to stay present in that moment. You're like, what's about to happen?
Yeah.
Because like if he would have been killed, I think the US would have been wild day today.
Oh yeah.
So we'll get into that.
So he was very close to being killed. Obviously, I mean, like, I think that goes without saying, but you know, the bullet hit him in the ear, like basically glanced, you know, his skull essentially. Do you have the video queued up? I guess let's start with that. And then maybe we can get into a little bit. We'll talk about the Secret Service's response.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Did you hear that? Someone said, "What are we doing? What are we doing?"
Yeah.
So his podium mic is still on. You hear a lot of that chattered at the Secret Service on the stage.
Moving to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Moving to spare.
Is he Hawkeye?
Get ready. We ready? Are we good? Shooters down. Are we good to move?
We're clear.
Let's move. Let's move.
We're clear.
Come on.
Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus. Let me get my shoes. Okay, my shoes down.
And the epic thing he's about to do.
I know, joke. The fact he like. So many people would have ran and cowered. They crawled away.
Or just freeze and not even be able to process what's happening.
Yeah. He didn't seem that surprised.
No, it was almost like, I mean, not that he was expecting it, but like.
No, but I'm saying like he's under attack around the clock. Not that people are shooting at his head, but thankfully, but I mean, the guy's been impeached. They're trying to put him in prison.
He's getting in the SUV. And he's still waving.
He actually stepped on the floorboard there, I think, for a second to get higher,
so he can give another.
Secret Service like, get down, give another. Play this real quick, Ben. I want you to talk about.
Play it from the beginning again.
No. Play what's about to happen.
This is as far as this video goes.
Oh, well, we're missing the fun stuff.
Oh, there's more?
I want to catch that Secret Service agent right there in front. I want to watch her.
Both those females are a soup sandwich.
I want to watch her holster her gun into her badge 7 times.
That was the only one that I could actually find.
Yeah, they were both total soup sandwich.
So while you're looking for that, that seemed to take a long time to get
him out,
to get him off the X. Like, if you're Secret Service, I understand it's like there needs to be a period of time where you're processing where's the threat and then making decisions from there. You can hear some of that conversation, but it almost seemed like the vehicle wasn't ready. It almost seemed like, I don't know, like, what do you make of that? What do you make? Like, just talk me through that.
Well, I mean, anytime that your Secret Service is going to set up a venue, like you are going to, the first thing you're going to do is look for positions of basically elevated positions where somebody could take a shot. I mean, that would be the first and foremost, where you're most vulnerable. The next would be egress routes. That's like on the top of the list. Like, if something goes down, how do we get this individual out? How do we have, 360 security around that individual as we're, getting them off the X? And it just doesn't, like you said, it seemed like it took a long time. You heard that one dude, the Secret Service dude, like, what are we doing? And it's like, they immediately should be on comms. And like, in my opinion, they should have not really allowed him to do the fist thing and make kind of a thing of it. Like, they should have grabbed him.
He was exposed at that point.
Yeah, they should have, because again, like, if that dude at 136 yards took that shot, like, there could be another dude. If they dropped the ball that bad.
Because just because they said shoot her down doesn't mean there's not a second one.
No. And they didn't see that dude. I mean, we'll talk about that, but they didn't see that dude at 136 yards away on a roof, on glass, like as you're in a sniper overwatch position. You're protecting the president. What? Like if you're in a sniper overwatch position, like protecting the president while he's speeching or giving a speech, you're constantly looking back and forth. Like, you're not just staring at one area. You're processing the whole venue, any angle at which someone could take a shot at the president. But really, they should have grabbed him and ripped him up, like physically grabbed him, pulled him up, got all around him, because I'm sure they have soft armor on and whatnot, and literally dragged him like forcefully into that SUV with it, and they should have been gone.
That's what I would have expected.
Do you think that they've just gotten lax? I mean, it's been since 1981 since Reagan was shot. So, I mean, do you think that they just didn't think it was going to happen?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, this is probably the first time that, if there was a Secret Service guy that shot, probably the first time he's ever even shot at anybody.
Well, I mean, I'm 40. Because it hasn't happened in my life, so none of these guys had it happen probably in their lives.
No. And the other thing about like Secret Service is it's not like they're drawing all guys with soft special operations backgrounds. Like, they're just, most Secret Service people are career federal agents. They start off in some sort of, federal job, and then they climb the totem pole and get in, and eventually get up in the Secret Service. And I'm not saying there's probably not some Secret Service guys that have, military background, maybe, fought in GWAT like guys like in my era did, but it's probably unlikely. I can tell you those two chicks have zero combat experience ever.
So this is, I found, looks like a longer video.
Before we get to that, I just want to set up some context. So you do civilian training as well, in addition, obviously, to SWAT teams, state police. Obviously trained. You were the head of the East Coast assault cell in the SEAL teams, right? Yeah. So training SEALs on assaulting. But with civilians, one of the things that we've talked about before is people without the proper training, without the proper exposure ahead of time, without that muscle memory, it will freeze up in times of, even in training, where it's a controlled environment, compared to this, fairly minimal stress level.
Oh, yeah.
Like, can you talk a little bit about just sort of the human physiology and some of the weird stuff you've seen in frankly, like, low pressure situations? And then I want to look at this.
Well, even in my civilian courses, like in some of my home defense CQC stuff, it's all paint-based scenario stuff. So, and a lot of times the role players, sometimes they're shooting at them, sometimes they're not, but they know what is happening, during the training scenario. And there's guys, some of them I see shaking, or they actually engage somebody for the first time, albeit it's a paint round with their own rifle with the paint ammunition that I use. And they don't even, some of them don't even go off safe. They just freeze. They go down to a knee and just blank out. And I'm like, hey, you going to shoot them or what? What's going on right now? Because they've never pointed their gun at somebody and actually shot. Because all the stuff you do on the range, civilian ranges, you're always worried about pointing your gun at somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like flagging somebody, which basically means putting your barrel across them, you know, muzzle sweeping them. You're worried about that. And especially a lot of the guys at this one club that, you know, train with me a lot, they're very safety conscious. They have great muzzle discipline, you know, but at the range, putting your gun across somebody is like a huge no-no. Like you'll be kicked off the range. But now you're actually pointing your gun at somebody and actually pulling the trigger. And it's, you know,
So even with the
paint, it's not natural.
The paint simulations, they still freeze up, even knowing it's not lethal.
yeah.
Do you surprise them when it's actually someone coming in and shooting its actual person? Yes, they're in special gear.
Yeah.
But do you tell them that that's going to happen, or is it just?
Oh no, they know. I mean, I say, hey, here's a scenario. You know, you got an armed gunman, you know, broke into your house, and you got to go clear your house and get to him. They know the, you know, they know Brendan's role player. Yeah. They have, you know, they basically have time to process that even before they do it, and they're still doing things that are just total epic failure.
So in a moment like this,
failure,
where someone's probably just chilling, this is the dozenth one they've done in a while, and they look like they didn't expect it. They were further away than I expected they would be.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they have enough Secret Service resources to do what needed to be done here. And I think that's because they got short staffed, didn't they? They got cut for some of these things.
I know that was definitely talked about. Yeah, I don't know if it was.
I have no clue if that's true yet.
One of the things though that you've talked about with like your patrol officer course is like the need to like switch it on. Like when you guys, for example, when you're deployed, for one thing, you're in this deployment state of mind. I think you're at war. When you're going to assault, you know, a facility or like kick in doors, you're in a mindset that's like, yeah, we are at war. We're going to potentially spill blood. We'll avoid casualties if we can.
Yeah,
but these guys have to like switch it on,
and
we're not ready.
No,
for
and
that
that's a good point, because like what happens physiologically with your body, you know, tunnel vision. You freeze. You have auditory exclusion. You have, you know, all these different physiological things that happen to you. Where I think that's a good point. Where like when you're going out on an op, your body has time to like you're into that zone, and Trump's just giving a speech and people are, and then all of a sudden it's just Mach 10, you know, right away.
Yeah.
And it's so fast. Your blood pressure goes so fast. Cause like, at least, you know, in combat, you know, it's slowly rising. And then obviously if you get into a firefight or something like that, it rises even more, but it's just 0 to 10 right away. Yeah. And you could clearly see, you know, if you go to those two chicks, Secret Service officers, they don't even know what they're doing. Right. Like they're completely, you know, trying to reholster their weapon, and they can't even put it in their holster. And then do I keep it out? I mean, it's sad.
Can we move forward to that?
Very sad.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one thing I do is this right here? What he could?
Here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we do this real quick, I want to point out that this is a weird point in history where any other assassination, it's like you had to go to the news to get every bit of information.
Oh, yeah.
There are thousands of phones that were filming all at one moment.
Yeah.
And so now they're going to have, talk about scrutiny. Like,
oh yeah, there's
one angle that you could say, well, you don't see what we're going to look at right now. There's so many different angles of this, but
there'll be endless like reels.
Oh,
and memes and things that these people, that, you know, some of these Secret Service people are, I mean, first of all, if I'm president, like, and someone's on my detail, like, I'm going to vet them a little better.
I wonder if now they're going to go to private security.
I would. I mean, like I said, like Secret Service people, you know, it's like those case officers that I worked with overseas. They're not friggin' Jason Bourne. They do not have the experience that you would think that somebody would have in a position to protect the president. Right. And clearly those females, you know, show that.
Let's watch it.
Well, I think one of the reasons it's maybe obvious too is there's a very evident size difference. Like if your job is to put your body between a threat and the president, then you should expect ideally that your body could cover the president. And credit to these gals, they did that. Especially that one up on stage was like, I mean, was you know, right in front of him and in between him and I think,
yeah, there she is.
Like you can see her right in the front, which there's not enough body mass there to like to actually.
I'd want big
protection.
I'd want big dudes.
I want like.
But that's
like a 6 foot.
But you know, this is the thing, you know, and I'm not trying to put females down or anything, but like they have to hire. You know what I mean? They have to hire a certain amount of, this is part of the hiring process with some of these federal groups, like regardless of maybe they're not suited for that role or that particular job, they have to hire them because of gender, because of whatever it might be. And my thing is like, if it's the president of the United States, like hire the most proficient, if and have a selection process for that. And if a female passes all that, great.
Awesome.
But
don't have a quota.
But hire somebody that's capable.
All right. So
to
what's
do the
happening
job.
here? Where you were talking about
So that gal to the left is what I wanted to watch. She's clearly like
panicking.
overwhelmed. And look, I get it. I would too. But like she tries to holster her gun into her badge like 6 times and then gives up.
I mean,
Decides,
holstering.
I'll just-
Well, first of all, she's looking to holster her firearm, dude.
which is a weird decision, right?
If you're a shooter, you never need to look at where your holster is. That is a muscle memory thing that gun goes down to immediately. You're not having to look to holster your weapon.
Should she even have been though? Like in that?
No,
moment?
she shouldn't. It should have been out, at whatever position that they run, whether it's SEWL or high ready or whatever it might be. But she didn't need to holster it. Well, she's got it out there now over there. And she's just
somebody else.
sweeping
Yeah,
everybody.
that's someone else.
Sweeping.
Look at her. She's just pointing at everybody. Oh, gosh.
So
What a train wreck.
What is sweeping
Oh,
for those who
geez,
don't
yeah,
know?
she's sweeping.
Pointing.
She's not
Right.
in a support position with your firearm. Like there's multiple different support positions, that you can run your firearm in where, so if you're not actively on a threat, pointing at somebody to shoot them, you're in a support position, whether it's high port, high ready, SEWL, low ready, low port, the index temple, like there's multiple different.
But she's like sweeping the crowd.
well, that's one of the
Yeah,
things.
she's just like this.
So, like, look, one of the things I think that there's a responsibility of Secret Service as a law enforcement body is that you got to assume, given the job, that there's going to be crowds everywhere. You're going to be doing your job and responding to an incident where there's thousands of people. Like in this case, again, another contrast. If we're talking about soft guys on a mission, or we're talking about even a SWAT or patrol responding to an incident, ideally they're going to be facing the threat, and there's not going to be thousands of people around, unless again, like it is an event like this. Like we did have local police here, but Secret Service, that's got to be one of like in terms of weapons training, muzzle discipline has got to be top of the list, right?
Oh yeah. And you can tell from that she has 0.
Yeah.
And she's on the presidential detail.
Is it possible though? So here's what you had mentioned before we started in on this, that there's a whole bunch of people from the Secret Service that are not necessarily in like the security detail. Is it possible that some of these, hey, go on, Don.
Yeah, that aren't necessarily like tactical operators. That aren't operators.
Maybe some of these gals, I suppose it's possible that like this wasn't even their job, but
Do you think they could have been like just
jumped
security,
in.
keeping people back?
Maybe,
stuff
and they
like
just
that?
like.
But as close as she is to Trump's SUV, like you would think that she's part of the detail. They're lucky that dude that they put down was on a roof. Like it would have been a lot
in the
worse.
crowd?
Yeah, because that's
Yeah.
a whole other thing to think about.
Yeah.
What, especially if you're firing high-powered rifles, where is that round going when it goes through that person? Because it's going through that person. Unless you put it, through their skull or something like that, it's still probably, depending on what type of round is being used, it's traveling further, and you need to worry about what is behind that.
Yeah, good point.
I want to see if he turns his head like
Oh, he does last minute.
the
It's
last.
crazy.
Okay, let me see it.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Oh, right there. Yep. Now those last few shots, were they?
How many did the shooter get off? I've read 8. I don't know what's
It's
the
hard to
actual
know.
number.
It's hard to know because like obviously there was return fire.
Yeah,
from Secret
from
Service.
the yeah.
So I think it's difficult to know like when and where that happened.
Because didn't the individual, the civilian that got shot, wasn't behind Trump, right? He was like
mean
off
that-
to the.
Yeah.
The person that was killed was like off to the side, right?
Yeah, well, you got a map of it, don't you, Jake?
Just a quick little map.
Because basically what that tells me is that dude obviously that took the shot didn't have much firearm training either, because his recoil management was terrible. I mean, because he got close to the president and then freaked out, bad recoil management, and then he threw a round way off.
Yeah,
Off,
and unfortunately
off to the
hit
side
other
and
people.
hit other people.
Yeah,
Because had he maybe been a trained shooter, like maybe he could have, if Trump's head turned slightly at the last minute, that follow shot with good recoil management, he could have maybe actually gotten that second shot.
well, thankfully he does not
no.
have good recoil management. How hard is that shot? We said it's what, 100, less than 150 yards, 130, something like that.
Do you guys want to see this video?
No, it's ridiculously easy.
So you can see it from the ground. Wow.
You can see the guy there.
Okay, so as far as like the difficulty of the shot, though, like, should there ever been a situation where this guy was allowed to get that close? Then, like, how does that happen?
It's insane.
So that's not.
It is insane.
It's not the kind of situation where you'd be like, oh, this guy was like 1,500 yards away and happened to get a lucky shot, or was super skilled, and they couldn't have really accounted for that, or it was like, you know, downtown Chicago with skyscrapers.
Yeah,
and there's like 1,000 windows.
Some hide site, you know, they built a hide site in some, you know, sniper hide site in an urban hide, and, you know, just couldn't cover every single window and every single angle. But there's not that many rooftops where somebody could be.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
and the long
really, like,
was on the one
really,
right
like 500 yards and in should be watched like with extreme scrutiny,
especially since there's not that many buildings around. It's kind of weird that
they only appeared to have one counter sniper element, and that's what it's showing there up on the roof, on that white roof.
But I'm wondering, so the outer Colgan of the event, how did this dude get in with a rifle in the first place?
Right,
that's my question. Like, did he just put it under a jacket? And then, I mean, if it's a long gun, unless it's like an SBR, you know, short barrel rifle or something really short where he can put it under a jacket or something like that. Like, how did he even get into the venue to even climb up on the thing?
Right.
Because
how did he even climb up on the thing? Like, did he bring a ladder?
Yeah, that's another question as well. I mean, it really, like I said, this is an epic failure by Secret Service.
It is important I think to point out, like, God bless them for jumping in there and doing their job and
yeah, the dudes that put him down, like, they're awesome.
They reacted,
but I'm not saying I'm saying big picture.
Yeah.
You know, larger big picture, what the Secret Service should have done for that whole venue and their advance when they went to it, and, you know, whoever's doing the site recce and seeing all the vantage points that could be used to possibly for a sniper. Somebody dropped the ball.
Which it seems like there weren't that many.
Have you guys seen this? This is like the response time.
And, you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
You see him like relocate?
Sort of caught off guard. It seems like they were looking over there, though.
Yeah.
I know, but it's a weird movement that guy makes with his rifle. It's almost like he freaked, you know, like spazzed for a moment.
Like he was overreacting?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, why is the barrel going down? Like, look how far it goes down. I mean, unless he's getting a shot on the shooter, but it looks to me like because he kind of comes off his scope a little bit, right?
There is another guy. There's two guys up there, right?
Yeah.
So I think one guy got off a shot while the other one was relocating. I wonder if they were just looking in the wrong direction.
I don't know which, you know, obviously we don't know which one it was that actually took the shot, but that type of movement, at least, you know, that guy that's on his, not the guy that's prone, but the guy that's on his knees, it looked a little reactionary, almost like overreaction.
And it's wild.
We talked a little bit about how there's a lot of different agencies involved in this, like when there's a rally. So there's obviously the Secret Service who takes the lead, but you've got the local municipality. So like the town of like whatever, like Butler Police Department, you've got the state police. I think there's an FBI. FBI's involved, maybe just in the planning. I don't know if they've got if they actually have, you know, FBI suits or, you know, patrol or anything there, but communication is difficult. Is it possible that like these guys were looking, I mean, you look at them and they seem to be trying to figure out what the hell they're seeing on that other roof. It kind of looks that way here in this image. Like, do you think it's possible they thought maybe it was the sheriff's department or state police also doing surveillance?
That could be, but it's like the comms that, like, why aren't they on? If you go back, I can't tell if that guy's got a comms headset in or not. But
which one are the other guys?
The guys on Overwatch. I probably won't be able to tell if they have comms in or not. But obviously, like something like this is a interagency comms nightmare.
Yeah,
with trying to communicate all these different, you know, groups and being on the same channel and what's happening, and it's a nightmare. I mean, I've done training with SWAT teams, with multiple different SWAT teams, to work on these types of things where they might have to respond to something altogether. He's got comms on, then maybe that other guy's, it's on his other side of his ear. I would hope they would all be on comms.
Surely, right?
And able to, if they for some weird reason thought it was, but if they look through their scope up there and they see what that dude looked like, they should know immediately that that's not some other dude setting up. I mean, they should also know if there is going to be an officer there, that should be something that's hashed out long before.
Yeah, you would think there's only a few rooftops, and you've got what appears to be one.
If there was going to be another Overwatch position on that rooftop, they would know about
all
it.
snipers.
They would know exactly who
yeah.
was supposed to be where, you know.
Well, look at this right here. He's on the other side of the peak. Is it possible they couldn't see him if he was just up and over enough to shoot the shot, but maybe not get... See how he's on the left side of the peak? And so, I mean, it's possible that they literally couldn't see him.
Is that possible, you think? Like, I mean, what if he just had the right spot?
I mean,
because like, let me.
There's also obviously you guys seen those videos where people are yelling for like more than a couple minutes
yes.
about it as well.
Like if you look at the white building behind where Trump was, and then you follow the line over, if he was on the other side of the peak, maybe for a quick second, just maybe, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
But like, is it possible that, and also like he's on a white roof. Which roof was he on? Was he on this one over here, or was he on this dingy one?
Yeah.
Or is he over here?
It could be old Google images
That
too.
is true.
Like they could have replaced the roof.
But it is wild that just someone wasn't up here and instead of just right behind him.
Right.
But from those positions that what we were showing before, where those two sniper positions, like they look like they would be able to see on that roof fairly well. Again, 136 yards is you could see with your eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's it's a white roof, and you see something on top of it, like that should immediately set off the bells and whistles. I mean,
so supposedly, rules of engagement for the Secret Services, they can't shoot unless they're engaged first. So unless someone shoots at them. So it's possible that they could have required like positive ID if they saw like the top of a head or saw somebody who had been like, is this like just a...
Well, obviously you need to be mindful, like if it's just some goofy Trumper that's just trying to, I need to get a better vantage point to see Trump. Like you're not just going to sling lead.
Right.
But, the moment that you start to see something on that building, you're on your scope and you're looking at every detail. Like even if you see something, something sticking out of his clothes or like poking weird, you're looking at every possible thing you can look at to then target ID. And if you see a gun, you better drop that individual immediately.
I thought the response of the news was really weird. Like they saw the same thing that most of us had seen, and it was weird that they were saying like, do you have any of those headlines?
I got a couple of headlines. Yeah. So it was, you and I were here together and we're standing in my living room and, we're looking, you and me and Dave Little, and we're standing here looking at, trying to get news and updates on what's going on. And some of the CNN headlines were outrageous. He's like, that news organization is
the Communist News Network.
Total crock of shit. Like they honestly are like worthless. But some of it, it was clear what's happening here, and their early reporting was abysmal. Like the couple of lines I saw: Trump's speech interrupted by Secret Service.
Really?
Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. They went on to say that he stood and shook his fist at the crowd. In that article.
Sure. And they're probably related to something that Hitler did or or some sort of Hitlerish
MSN
aneurysm.
MSN said Trump leaves rally after loud noises erupt.
Are we talking about people like are they tweeting in?
No, these are headlines for major news organizations. So these same folks that, by the way, will do no research and jump the gun and report anything that is smearing for Trump. They seemed extremely hesitant to actually call this what it was and inform the American people that there was a...
Why would there... What's the hesitation? Why would they want to lighten it at all?
Because they're terrible at their job and they're malicious.
Is it just pure, like they're incompetent?
I think they're malicious.
No.
You think it's malicious?
Oh, it's malicious.
It's so weird though. It's not helping them as a business. I mean, the only time that this seems like their ratings are high is if Trump is in the news. So it's like, I just don't understand the business mindset behind being bad at telling news.
I think wanting Trump to be a victim of something like this is
Oh, it's totally against their narrative.
Yes.
and they know something like this, how it will benefit his cause.
I mean, after this, I was like, oh, he's
support.
getting elected for sure after
Yeah.
this. I was also saying earlier, I was just like, okay, so he's got felonies. Now he's been shot. When does his hip hop mixtape come out? Like, for real. Like, he's basically a gangster now.
Dang, it feels good to be.
Dang, it feels good to be a gangster. Yes. 100%.
And I'm sure there'll be endless reels with gangster stuff. I've already seen a couple of them.
I mean,
You want to produce it? Is that what?
dude, I would. I'll take all of his speeches. It would be a
I saw
hot
one reel
100,
with
yeah.
a rap song. I'm not a rap fan, obviously, but it was like it's some rap song about 8 shots or something like that, and it was great.
It is wild that he's running for president. It looks like he's gonna win. He has felonies. He's been shot. He's been impeached twice.
He's
Lord Almighty, that is a rap sheet and a half. And it's
still
just
trying to
Yeah,
push
which is why he stands up from taking a round and he's just like, "Ugh."
It was a good reaction, badass reaction.
Yeah.
So all that said, there are some theories that this was staged,
Those
or
started so
that it was a CIA operation, or that basically this was done to serve Trump in the ways that we just said, because it actually like garners more support for him.
Why would our CIA be involved in something like that?
Well, people
Our
say it's an
government
internal.
is so corrupt.
Well, did you just answer your own question then?
Well, no, I mean corrupt, like left leaning, corrupt.
I see what you mean. So
Why would they want to do something that would help
would
Trump
help him?
in the long run?
is it even possible? Like I think about the mechanics of that shot, and you watch it, like it was the last moment that he turned his head by the grace of God, and that bullet caught his ear instead of his skull. Like let's just like war game this for a second. Let's say you're some mercenary hired to go up on that rooftop and to execute the president. Sorry, not execute the president, but actually make it look like you tried to execute the president. First off, you got to be willing to die for the thing, like, because you're going to probably get shot by the counter team or shot on the way out.
You know.
But how impossible would it be to actually make that shot, to just graze his ear, essentially?
Not, and especially given that kid's what I've seen so far with his background, and no,
He was aiming.
yeah, he was trying.
He was aiming, definitely.
So
You-
no credibility
But
to that.
the problem is, it goes back to like JFK, and there's so many other situations where it was just clearly like, hey, what is going on here? And the more people dive into it, it seems so sketchy. That's why when this happened, I mean, within minutes, people weren't trusting anything, and that's the problem. Is our faith in our government and our especially 3-letter agencies it's gone. I mean, most people, both sides, just don't trust, and so that's why I mean, people quickly got into conspiracies.
Yeah, but I guess my point, like back to what you were saying, like if they did this to help Trump in some way, in this day and age in our government, I just don't see that. Like they're so evil.
Do you think it's possible the CIA would have actually been trying to take him out? Could this kid have been hired? Is that ridiculous?
No, I don't think that's ridiculous. I think that's a possibility.
He would have been.
But I don't think it's a possibility that somebody did this to, like the left might push something like, oh, this is a Trump conspiracy so that he gets more followers or builds a better, a larger base or something like that. Like, I don't think that's possible.
I think what's more than likely what happened is the news and social media and everybody says he's Hitler. He has to be stopped at all cost. Our democracy will be destroyed if he becomes president. They say that. So you got some kid who's influential, probably 100% believes it.
Oh, yeah.
And so he thinks it's my duty to take it on. That's more than likely
because he's obviously brainwashed like most of our youth today anyways.
Yeah.
Well, and because and why wouldn't he be? Like, the left-wing media is saying it, the Biden administration is saying it, Biden on his socials, they're saying all these things. And but honestly,
if you ever just sat down and watched like MSNBC, CNN for
it's
large portions, not just
painful.
It's like another planet.
Yep.
No, like,
and it's not this. It's not this one. Yet.
That's what you like. Yeah. That's your source, and that's you are living in an alter reality.
Let me underscore that a little bit, because I looked at the last roughly 2 weeks of President Biden's social media posts, and I pulled a few quotes out here. We talk about like ratcheting up the temperature in the country, the rhetoric, you know, saying that Trump is Hitler, all these things. There's a problem if you look back at what led to what happened yesterday. There's a problem with the current president's messaging. The day that Trump was shot, yesterday, Biden posted on socials, Americans want a president, not a dictator.
Obviously, this is before he was shot.
The day of. Yeah. Before he was shot. Yes. But kind of going in reverse order here. I'm just gonna go real quick.
Yeah, please go.
He says, "We must stop him. Donald Trump vows to be a dictator on day one," which I want to show a video pertaining to that in a second. Another post, he says, "Donald Trump attempted to overthrow an election, wants to be a dictator on day one," says it again, "and has promised revenge and retribution if he wins. And the Supreme Court he appointed just gave him virtually unlimited immunity to do it. Ask yourself what will happen next." We'll get into that.
What's funny is that side note, that immunity would also apply to him, the president.
The immunity, I'll just speak to it.
Yeah.
The immunity has been totally branded as the wrong thing. When we talk presidential immunity, it allows the president to do things from like a national security and foreign policy standpoint to like drone America's enemies overseas and not be prosecuted as a civilian when they get out of the presidency. That's what we're talking about. That doesn't mean that Trump, now that he has been given presidential immunity, which, like you said, all presidents are given presidential immunity, it doesn't mean that he can just do whatever the hell he wants. It's specifically so that he can do the duties of the president, which are unique to the presidency. You and I can't drone people overseas. And so that's what that speaks to. But it's been totally branded and lied about by the left in this country. And then people like the president continue to forward that lie and that misinformation and misinform their
well, that doesn't even remove his felonies that he has, like, recently.
Right. Yeah.
So, like,
people it's not that he's exactly.
He's not immune to all laws, and that's what he's putting it as it is.
Another post: Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy, and we cannot let him win. Trump isn't just a convicted criminal; he's a one-man crime wave. He posted that twice in 2 different ways.
First off, it bothers me when they say we're a democracy, because we are not.
Yeah.
We're a representative republic with a democratic voting. So I don't understand. We're not a democracy.
He then says Trump's Project 2025 agenda is extreme and dangerous. Together we must defeat him. He says, "I've been getting a lot of questions about Project 2025 lately. Here's the truth. It's a dangerous takeover by Trump and his allies to pass his extreme MAGA agenda. Project 2025, gutting America's system of checks and balances."
Is his extreme MAGA agenda to lower, so I don't have to pay $10 for a gallon of milk? Is that,
I hope so.
Is that what his extreme MAGA agenda is?
Donald Trump is Putin's lapdog. I will never bow down to dictators. Project 2025 should scare every single American. It would give Trump limitless power over our daily lives.
Limitless power.
Limitless power.
Yeah, like he's Darth Vader.
Right.
Like,
that's really absurd. Another 4 years of Donald Trump is deadly serious. Project 2025 is deadly serious. And then, like I said, the day that the assassination attempt took place, like I said, he said Americans want a president, not a dictator. I said that obviously before. But like, this is the sitting president of the United States in the way that he's talking about the current Republican frontrunner.
That's never. I guarantee that no president has ever talked to an opponent in those terms.
First off, it ain't him either. It's somebody else. It's his cabinet. It's his people. I mean, like we all know, we saw that debate. He ain't tweeting anything. It's his people. Right. So
he's asleep in a bowl of ice cream.
Ice cream sounds really good right now. It's hot in this room. It's like wild.
It's like that's how we get here, though. To this point where you've got the top political leader in our country, and then a very supportive news media that continues to promulgate this information and this incorrect viewpoint of the world.
And here's the thing: you talk about dictatorship. That's all these nations that have dictatorship. All the media is controlled by a certain particular political agenda.
Yeah.
And think about how much of our media is left.
Yeah.
The majority of it. Even like Fox News isn't as
how much of our institutions
conservative for me. Yeah,
and businesses, sports, entertainment,
YouTube.
Hollywood.
Yeah, and that
all
is
the
what
tech
leads
stuff, YouTube. before Twitter was purchased. I mean, basically, it was nothing but a breeding ground for that.
Yeah, because in my opinion, the left wants a slave labor nation, which is what dictatorships all revolve around. That's what they want. Whether Republicans or Democrats, they all want the same thing. At least the rhinos, slave labor nation. Do what you're told. They have ultimate power, and because Trump is against that, which is why he's hated by Republicans, he's hated by Democrats, and he wants us to have the power and enable us to, live as Americans. He's hated that to this level because of that. And that's my opinion.
Well, I mean, just look at the news over the last few months. They were literally shocked when they saw Biden doing so poorly. I was not shocked. You weren't shocked when he was doing that because a lot of people had seen clips online that weren't like a true journalist would have exposed that. Hey guys, there's something wrong with the president. We need to talk to him. We got to see what's going on because he's I mean, basically he's got all these episodes where he can't even speak. But they were legitimately shocked because, I mean, at least a lot of people seem to be shocked.
I don't know how
because
they could be shocked.
But that's what I'm saying. Like they were blown away. Like I've never seen him this bad. It's
so
like,
people on
have
the
you
right,
not looked?
For years, people on the right have talked about like they make jokes about it.
Yeah.
But which in more recent weeks, like it's less of a joke, and this is like, hey guys, this is a serious national security concern and probably elder abuse. Republicans for a long time now have been like, hey, Biden's not quite all there. Like he's not 100%. And that's why I get so frustrated at our news media because like 2 weeks before the debate, Biden was at a fundraiser that I think George Clooney had put on, Democratic National Convention fundraiser. And there was that clip going around of Biden on stage with Obama, clearly like not sure where to go. Obama had to grab his arm and like lead him off stage. He was at the G7 summit with other world leaders and was like wandering off into a field. And the news was so quick to be like, oh no, this is AI generated. This isn't real. You've probably seen these clips. These aren't real. You and I spent a lot of time talking about AI. These were not AI clips. Like anybody who knows, anybody who's paid attention to Biden in the first place, anybody who's paid attention to AI would be able to look at that and be like, no, that's just par for the course. Like that's just, and so then 2 weeks later, we get to the debate and Biden totally bombs it, as we all know, and as the left wing, like pretty quickly came out and was like, oh yeah, this is bad. But they were appalled, or at least acted appalled, that like, why did no one tell us this? Like how we had no idea he was this bad.
Again, they live in that alter reality.
Yes, either it's incompetence or it's malicious. But either way, it's like, how could you not know this? How could we end up here? Yes, there's echo chambers, like you said, but like it's like, welcome to the club, guys. Like we've been here a while. Yeah. We've been noticing this for a long time. The fact that now you're like having a full-on panic attack because the election is on the horizon and you got to either find a new candidate or like determine, or do some serious damage control. But it's like, don't act like you didn't have warning for this because we all been talking about it for a long time.
People were saying it's conspiracy that he was not doing well. Oh, that, like you said, it's AI. They're just, look at this angle. He's actually going to greet somebody. It's like, no, he's walking off into the woods, y'all. Like, y'all better round him up. But the reality is that instead of just saying, hey, there's an issue, we got to figure it out, we got to prepare for that when it comes time for debate, it seemed like they just, either they threw him to the wolves and they knew it, or they truly were shocked. Like, if they were truly shocked, nobody let him know that he was having cognitive issues. Like, it's really weird.
I don't see how that's. I don't see how that's possible.
Yeah,
I don't either. But I mean, there's lots of reports about now Hunter Biden, who also is a felon and crack addict and overall awful human, is now sitting in on the majority of like White House meetings now, like tending to his father.
Wow.
And Dr. Jill Biden is also joining in those. So like, there's. The Biden family is a freaking mess. Again, anybody who's paid attention and is not looking through rose-colored glasses, like
that's where people are so party lined.
Mess.
They're so lined with just a party. They don't care. Like I've heard people say, it doesn't matter how good or bad he is. I'm just voting that side. I'm like, guys, like we got to find good leaders, not just like we should just vote party. Like it doesn't make sense to me.
Or it's the the Trump derangement syndrome that they don't care what is put out, as long as it's not Trump. They don't care.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know if I believed that the Trump derangement syndrome. But I've run into people lately. I'm like, yeah, sure, you don't like him, but it's weird that you're like emotional about how much you hate him.
I think it's though because people don't do their own research. It annoys the shit out of me, frankly, but like the majority of the left has a very holier than thou. Like I'm sophisticated and intelligent. And you're just a dumb effing conservative, and you don't know anything. You're a MAGA Trumper. They don't do their own damn research. Like I want you to pull up a video. The Biden campaign has campaigned on this whole idea that Trump has said he would be a dictator on day one. In two of the social media posts that I mentioned, Biden says that. He said it repeatedly in the debate. It's come up, the news media talks about it. You see articles all the time. I want you to actually play the clip, and anybody who actually like cares to watch this and have a, like form your own opinion and not just be told by the president, not just be told by the left-wing media. I want you to pull up the clip of Trump on Fox News with Sean Hannity.
I thought this was it.
That's not a clip. I don't.
Do I not?
The other thing,
You moved it towards the back.
the other thing, Dave, is like people can't have healthy debate anymore.
No.
That's true.
Like even in our society, like you can't actually
Just
talk
YouTube it
about
real
issues, and in a where you're both respecting each other's viewpoints and actually have a healthy debate.
Partly because there's all this misinformation and disinformation.
That's a big part of it.
It's like, well, my president. So if you're on the left and you voted for Biden, and Biden is saying these things, if Biden is posting on his social media and saying in debates, Trump said he'd be a dictator on day one, like people are saying, oh, okay, well then, like surely he wouldn't say that if it's a lie. Surely he wouldn't say that if it's not true. And it is true. Trump said that. But let's watch this and see the context. I think it's very important.
Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight, you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
for?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not
drill.
That's not retribution. I'm
gonna be, he keeps, we love this guy. He says, you're not gonna be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator,
So
okay?
that sounds to me like you're going back to
Okay, so
when you were president.
there have been campaign ads cut. Like I said, it's repeatedly been on Biden's social media. It's come up in the debates and in interviews. And then the left-wing media has totally run with this. Yes, he said it. So if we're going to sit here and like fact check it, like you can't say no, he didn't say it. But like people in the room are laughing.
It's tongue in cheek.
It's clearly hyperbole. He says, yes, I'm going to be a dictator to one, shut down the border, and then drill.
Don't you know his media team is like, oh my God, Trump, don't say
But
yes.
like technically he said it.
Technically, yes.
Obviously, he does not mean it in the way that like Biden goes on to say, he's a threat to our democracy. We have to stop him. It's extreme and dangerous. He's making a freaking joke, guys. Like,
And he's just saying that he's going to be super aggressive in getting what needs to be done.
Which
fast.
Which we need, with closing the border.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Learn that, yeah.
And also about, making America energy independent. And then I have another clip, but go ahead.
Real quick, I remember when he got elected the first time, someone I know and I care about, a homosexual, was freaking out saying that he was going to make it illegal. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, a president's not going to make it illegal. She's like, you just watch. He's going to make homosexuality illegal. And I remember when he went out of office, I asked her, so whatever happened to that? She's like, well, we stopped him from doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Trump's not going to go in and make homosexuality illegal. I don't know where people are getting that kind of stuff. So for me, when they say...
I think I just told you.
Yeah, but like, I mean, you can't just trust the TikTok. Like,
malicious disinformation by people on the left.
I mean, that's wild. If
I sent another clip over to you, you can YouTube it too, but I want to pull up the clip, the full clip where he is talking about it'll be a bloodbath if he doesn't get elected. Quick preface. This is one that comes out all the time too, relating to January 6th. I've seen campaign ads cut. I've seen social posts. I've seen, again, the left-wing news media talk about this, how Trump has said it would be a bloodbath if he doesn't get elected. If we think if the country thinks January 6th was bad, he's saying it'll be a bloodbath if he doesn't get elected. Again, context. He said that, yes, what he's talking about here is negotiating with the United Auto Workers Union and negotiating with China and with Mexico and where these vehicles are manufactured. And he's talking about import tariffs. He's, again, speaking in hyperbole here, exaggerating, but saying that it will be a disaster, a bloodbath for our economy.
For trade.
And for trade, if these things are not negotiated, if the left gets their way, if Biden does what, gets what he wants here. So go ahead and play. This will be kind of a long clip. But
Auto workers never probably shook hands with a Republican before. They're destroying. Mexico has taken, over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it. Went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole, that's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it. But they're not going to sell those cars. They're building massive factories. A friend of mine, all he does is build car manufacturing plants. He's the biggest.
That's probably enough, but it's pretty clear that so
you can piece together, even us, like the average American, and the way that we talk to our wives, our friends, our coworkers, you could piece together a narrative to make us all sound like horrible humans,
right?
And make it and put a twist to it, and that you could totally do that with these clips.
Well, and the Biden administration has been, I guess, to their credit, but also it's awful. Sorry, farm life here with flies. Like the Biden administration has been really effective at this type of marketing, where they will take a statement made out of context. Where again, like Trump, part of what we love about him is it's just his personality. Like he's not super polished. He just speaks, but a lot of it is these grand sort of statements and claims and things, but they take it out of context and run with it. And it's frustrating to see, again, the sitting president who has got to know this stuff is not like, if someone came to me and said, hey, Trump said this thing, so we're going to add this to your debate, scripted, comments. We're going to run an ad, which again, like all these politicians have to approve it. I'm going to, for one thing, want to know, like, okay, what's the context? Like the same thing happened with Charlottesville, where he said there's good people on both sides. Like the left has taken these sort of pieces, as you said, of larger statements that he's made and just run with them, campaigned on them. And these have been like cornerstones to their campaign and their talking points. And it, again, ratchets up the temperature and makes people feel as though there are threats being made that are not. Bloodbath, the idea that he's going to be a dictator on day one, all this stuff, like that's not really what was said, and it's a problem.
Well, we're seeing also where social media is playing a huge role in this. Before, they would say things on like a campaign that might be local, and someone might see it on television. Yeah. But now, like hundreds of millions of people are seeing it, and seeing it multiple times in little clips. And it may not be Biden's campaign that's putting that out. It might be like a super PAC doing it too. So like a lot of it is like
fine, but I mean, like as far as campaign ads, like
right.
I'm Joe Biden and I approve this message. Like that's in there.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I know this stuff. I've literally, like, there's clips of him saying these things about the bloodbath, about Charlottesville, about dictator on day one. He said it in the recent debate.
Because it's all he has to work off of, and the left. That's all they got. Nothing as far as policy goes with Trump. All they have to work off of is he's mean.
When it's hard,
and he says mean things.
It's hard for Biden to spend much time on policy because we've had 3.5 years of that policy.
The fact that he named it Bidenomics, bro, in a bad economy, don't name something Bidenomics. It was just like marketing. Someone should have said, bro, don't name it after yourself. Like, just wait till it starts to, if it works.
But look, not all this said, like, none of this should have led up to what happened yesterday. Again, terrible day for our country, a dark day for our country and for politics.
It's embarrassing too.
It is because, you know, we're not the only ones watching this. Like the rest of the world is watching this and they're seeing, you know, you look at Russia, China, Iran, like our world's enemies are seeing a fractured nation. And I mean, this is like third world stuff.
It's like Mexico. What, like 25 people got murdered over this last election? Or whatever it was. Yeah, it was a bloodbath, a literal bloodbath. And it's just weird to see our country have this happen. I mean, it's something you read in history. That's why we decided to do this podcast and have you come in, was because like this is historical moments.
You've actually like fought against actual dictators.
Yeah.
And political violence.
Which I'm actually like blown away that during Biden's presidency, some of these more aggressive nations and these maniac dictators haven't moved some large chess pieces.
They might be, but I mean, our Navy's so damn big, man.
I know, with that, and that's the only thing. Yeah, our naval fleet is larger than any other
combined. Most
like,
right?
I mean, like we crushed China. I mean, China's got like one aircraft carrier or something like that. I mean, and it's garbage. Like it's only because of our military, you know, size and the resources that we have. But I don't think it's because our military is necessarily in 2024 is super strong. I mean, if you look at what's going on in some of the woke crap in the military compared to when I was in 20 years ago, you know, it's changed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, you know, it's especially the Navy, man. Don't even get me into some of the stuff that they've promoted in the Navy. Many
have said, though, that, you know, and we've even talked about it on this show, that the next few months of the Biden administration, as we potentially sunset on that, could be extremely dangerous from a foreign policy and global perspective. Because, again, you talk about foreign nations that are not friendly to the U.S., maybe making moves on the chessboard. If they see that the Biden presidency is, in fact, sunsetting, it's pretty clear at this point, like, Biden is not positioned well to win this race. Trump is, frankly, especially after what took place yesterday. If you're Vladimir Putin, if you're Xi Jinping, if you're, you know, an adversary of the U.S., or at least not particularly friendly, you're going to probably see, like, my window is closing, because Trump has historically been rather aggressive, rather firm.
Oh, yeah.
He does not get pushed around.
No, he's not going to,
from a foreign policy standpoint. So, like, you would maybe make a move soon. Plus, on top of that, we've got an aggressive Hamas that has been, you know, has had a lot of support here domestically. And then clearly we have people trying to kill our president. And so there's a lot of turmoil. I mean, if I say, like, okay, what's the sit rep right now for, you know, our American security domestically and overseas, like, it's kind of a shit show.
Yeah.
It's scary.
I think things are going to get weird.
I hope they don't.
What do you think
they already have, but I hope
if
they don't.
He would have gotten killed? Like, honestly, what do you think would have happened? Because you got people who
were so close too.
So close, but like, people are militant. So, like, what do you?
Yeah, but here's the thing: is conservatives actually have morals, and they're not going to be like all the lefty rioters and go nuts. Like if Biden got shot or something like that, it would be mass chaos in the cities and just total, I mean, you know, the riots and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, most conservatives and are moral people that they're not going to just go out and, you know, do that just because somebody shot him. That's my opinion. I mean, you're going to have your
there are a few weirdos I know that would be like,
you're going to have some of your, you know, your groups in the South, and, you know,
I think, well, I just want to, so, like, look, I know people that are very left politically, who I think deep down are good people. I think there's a lot of them, but I think I go back to kind of what we've talked about here. The powers that be in the left-wing media, the left-wing politics, they have, like, to a criminal degree, had this PR campaign, this messaging and marketing campaign along the way that I think has misinformed and disinformed an entire generation, especially our younger generation, of people who they want love. They want to, you know, love their fellow American, and they want to be loved. They want to feel supported in whatever they think and feel. And I think that, you know, they've been raised in an environment where whatever they think and feel has been validated, even when it shouldn't be. But they believe for all these reasons that, you know, the things they believe are right. And I don't think, in the same way that like Hillary Clinton, when she was running for president, she classified all conservatives as deplorables. Like I want to be careful about, you know, saying the entire left is this or that. But I do think that there has been, like literally a brainwashing, people in this echo chamber watching leftist news and consuming leftist content and, you know, looking at what the sitting Democratic president is saying on social media, and, what their perspective of the world, I think is like you said, it's like a different planet. It's very different than maybe what we were saying. And obviously there's outliers, to your point. I like 100%. There's outliers, I think, on the, you know, right side of the aisle too. But
with social media though, echo chambers are just so much worse, because like you had your like 3 or 4, maybe 10 friends that believed a certain way, and you would talk maybe at a barbecue back in the day, and you'd watch the news. Now the social media algorithms change so much where everything you see is just reaffirming what you already believe.
And it also feeds, the algorithm feeds chaos. It feeds, you know, that emotional response.
What I was talking about earlier, we blame like CNN and MSNBC for just hyping up things because they're selling ads. Dude, we're seeing it with even like content creators. They're making money based off of the hype and the hysteria. So they just keep going that way. And what we end up having is people talking only about extreme things on each side, and they're not giving any nuance to anything. Like if Trump said something that was great, no one would say, you know, that I believe that. That's true. Yeah. Or if Biden said something that was a good idea, no, there's not many people would be like, you know, that I don't agree with him on other things, but that's good. The problem is a lot of people are seeing America as Democrats, Republicans, instead of seeing America. And so that's why I always go back to, I really have a hard time with the two parties, because there's no way that an extreme leftist or an extreme right person can't. There's also people like closely in the middle, but they believe in lower taxes, so they're more conservative.
Like, I think it's worth pointing out, by the way, that like Trump just in the debate recently did not take a strong sort of historically right-wing stance on abortion, for example. He's kind of riding in the center of that. He's riding that center line. I don't agree with that. But to your point, that's one of those things where it's like, hey, like I don't agree with this piece, but I think it's unreasonable to expect that you're going to agree 100% with any presidential candidate. So like you know, take what you can. I definitely agree with a hell of a lot more of, you know, what Trump stands for than what Biden does. But what were we going to say? Sorry.
No, I was going to say, Jake, it's like back to my point about like you can't have debate anymore, because in a debate, you have to, when somebody puts up evidence, like you have to be humble enough to acknowledge that evidence is valid, and then be willing to be persuaded, at least if you're an open-minded person and all you're looking for is the truth, you should be able to approach however much emotion gets involved. You still want the truth at all costs. But that means you have to allow yourself to have correction.
And you also need to be able to argue their side for them to understand what it is they're saying. And that I feel like a lot of people need to do that.
Yeah. And people just can't, it's like any correction, or they just can't handle correction. But that goes back to pride. I think that we've become a very prideful nation. Yep. It's super arrogant. Social media has not done any justice to this, because people are just so self-absorbed with their own social media. And what they are, and what they're projecting themselves as who they are, which is usually fake as crap. And it breeds this prideful, arrogant attitude. It's all about me. And that carries into worldview and into politics and everything else, to where they can't actually be humble enough to have an actual intelligible discussion.
Well, no one wants to be wrong.
Well,
what's wrong with being wrong occasionally?
Yeah, I love being wrong. You know, I mean, in all my tactics classes, I'm like, hey, challenge what I'm putting out. Yeah. And if the guy puts out something and I'm like, and I read and I think about it in my head, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually a good point. Well, hey, then I just actually corrected something, and now I can make something better.
So that's actually part of your curriculum, and I think super relevant to what we're talking about here, which is you had an entire generation of Navy SEALs before the global war on terror who had not seen combat. And you talked about how when you were on our show before, there was a dramatic shift in tactics because all the things that had been taught that a lot of the, the previous generation, they stood by. This is the way we do it. This is how SEALs operate. This is the tactics and, the way that we do things. And those guys were, they were getting killed. They were on, on operations, on missions, and it was becoming clear, like, this is not working. Yeah. We need to reorient. We need to be honest and humble and respond to like what we're seeing in the field, which is that maybe the stuff we've been teaching for years is not working in the real world. Yeah. And I think, that being able to do that, whether we're talking like, on a grand scale at the military or we're talking just as an individual, is such an important thing to, I think, becoming a better person and relating to other people in your life.
And I see it in the law enforcement world too, where, I try to, I'm trying to work with a team to, get a contract with them and try to train their team. But there's a particular individual with that team that is their trainer, is their guru. He's the one that everyone looks up to, and he doesn't want someone like me coming in and basically saying, hey, you need to find another way to go about doing business. And because again, they might look bad, but again, at the end of the day, if it's going to help your officers or to be safer on the streets and actually, do their job better, like I would think you'd want to be open to that.
Yeah.
But it's just not the way it is, because it goes back to pride and arrogance, and people want the accolades for being that, who they are as their trainer.
Yeah.
Quick question. If you were running security for Trump's team, what would you do? Would you get more Secret Service, or would you bring in more outside security? What would you do? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, my selection process would be only soft dudes, or if it was some prior LE guys, it would be like extremely vetted LE guys that have actually done real world SWAT type stuff.
LE's law enforcement.
Yeah. I would be very nitpicky with who I'm going to choose to put on that detail.
Well, it's pretty clear at this point that like that conversation needs to be had, because before maybe you could say, well, to your point, Jake, nothing's happened since '81. Like maybe we don't need like, a bunch of grizzled, battle hardened like warriors out there, but the president just got shot in the face yesterday. So like I think the game has changed, and I would hope, right, the Secret Service is maybe having some of these conversations and trying to decide, okay, maybe we need to level up.
Well, the other thing too is, though, you would think like at this level that, I mean, there's not,
especially since he looks like he's probably going to be president.
Yeah, there's not that many of them. You know what I mean? It's not like I mean, to be on his detail or Biden's detail.
Yeah, there was only like six guys on the stage. Or
six, come on. I mean, you probably have a large pool that you can have a very much more rigorous vetting process.
You want to throw your resume in the pool or what?
No, I've done a lot of executive protection details, and it's the most boring thing on earth.
It wasn't yesterday.
No, it wasn't yesterday, but for the most part, it's monotonous.
Sort of like baseball. You just wait and then it all.
Well, and like so, like in the wars in GWAT, in global war on terror, some SEAL teams got tasked with executive protection details for different politicians and leaders and things like that. And the thing that sucks is because we try to pride ourselves in the teams to just do, even if it's executive protection, it's not out there kicking doors in. We still try to do it to our best ability. And because we did that so well, we got tasked a lot of times with it. Yeah. And if you were like the task unit, like going overseas and you got stuck, it was like, oh, you were so depressed.
Do you think that's part of
the problem? Like same team deploying, to two different areas. You got tasked with this executive protection detail, and those other guys are kicking doors in.
Jumping just like planes, slinging lead. Yeah. Well, but do you think that's part of the problem, though? Again, yesterday is that like it had been literally decades since an incident had happened, and then, yesterday they had to switch it on. Like that's got to be tough for someone who's served an entire career of basically crickets.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, like you said, your heart rate goes through the roof, and they're asked to respond.
Sensory overload.
Yeah. I would think that would be tough.
Do you guys think this footage this photo is real? Where that's supposed to be the bullet? I was going to ask you about that. I don't know if you can actually see the bullet when it's being shot.
So feet per second with a let's say this is a .223 round. What is that? 3,000 feet per second?
Something like that.
I'm wondering more so if that's not ear. If this isn't fake,
ear.
my thing is it's probably a trail of like ear.
Maybe. Because I think we'd have to know like shutter speed on the camera.
It could be something with the bullet also breaking the heat.
Like
Oh, yeah, it
you
could
see
be-
the air,
Yeah.
and not the round
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's wild. I do want to point this out though.
I feel like it'd be easy to fake that.
that yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you don't trust anything. If you see it on the internet, don't trust anything. Look at the camera people as this is
Oh,
going
man.
on. Like they didn't give a shit. They were like, "This is my moment. I'm going to pay off my mortgage." Like, look at this.
A little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
So let's say zoom out here in a second. Like the camera people, they're not hiding. They're taking pictures.
I never noticed that.
This guy's just like, look, money, click,
Left
click,
of the
money,
screen,
money.
yeah. That's how they got that shot right there of Trump bent over with blood running down
The
his face.
camera guys are actually
Responding.
They responded quicker.
are better, responding in a more appropriate manner than the Secret Service,
Yeah.
We need to just
or at least a more relaxed, not
Yeah.
not letting
Look at this. Look at
your-
this. Hold on. Let me back up just a little bit.
the
Okay.
stress affect your
Shots.
decision.
That guy just taking pictures.
I mean, I'm surprised.
Look at him.
Even
He's
with
running.
some of the people. Yeah,
Guys over here on the right. There's a girl over there. Like,
I never noticed that.
But like, okay, just to contradict myself from earlier though, like this has got to be a hard job though if you're Secret
Yeah.
Service, because like this is the worst thing. If you're Secret Service, like your one job is to keep the president safe and prevent something like this, and it happened. So stress level goes through the roof. Your reaction, and meanwhile you've got photojournalists like swarming the stage, running around. You've got chaos in the crowd. Other people have been shot. Like that's a tough situation, I think, to respond to in the moment and like process. Okay, here's what needs to happen next. Because their job is not really to like set up security, like these guys on long guns are doing. Like their job is to get the president and get him out of there, which they're taking a while. But
so how did he get knocked out of his shoes? I kind of want to know that. I want to see that angle.
because
Like,
they tackled him like linebacker, like
I saw that. But I mean,
I saw people say that if Biden had been tackled like that, he'd probably be dead. Which is,
Probably.
he would certainly have been.
they're going to
quite
spin this
injured.
where he says fight, fight. They're going to spin this as some kind of like saying a rise for power. Or
Oh
rise for
yeah,
war.
it'll be abused in some way.
I got his hat.
Whatever.
Yeah, got to get the hat.
What a beast!
He'll auction off the hat with the blood on it.
The Trumpinator.
Yeah. Okay. So as they're walking to the car, it is a bit of chaos. This is one that stops short of that girl.
It seems a little bit like that. What do they call it? The phalanx or phalanx or whatever? Like where they like swarm in on somebody like that. Like I think that comes from the Spartans and the way they used to fight and like cover like each man's shield covers the man to his left or whatever. Like they sort of overlap. I think that's the idea here, but it sort of seems to slow things down. It's like just get like 3 big dudes on him and get out of there.
I think this is the video I want you to respond to.
Because now you're just
This
a big.
morning, the FBI is naming the suspected shooter as Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20 years old, from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, south of Pittsburgh. The FBI saying this remains an active and ongoing investigation. Overnight, former President Trump arriving in New Jersey, walking down the stairs of his plane, hours after what the FBI is calling an assassination attempt.
They're calling assassination attempt. What do you think it was?
New video shows the Secret Service reacting to the shooting on top of that white roof. A law enforcement source tells ABC News the shooter is believed to be a lone wolf.
We do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was.
Law enforcement sources tell ABC News the shooter fired as many as 8 rounds using an AR-style rifle from a rooftop. This video from above shows what's believed to be the
8
suspected
rounds, I think you asked that.
according to a law enforcement official briefed on the investigation. That rooftop is about 400 feet from the stage.
I think you had said, Jake.
That roof, that actually, trying to look at the height of that too,
Trump released
What
a
did
statement that
he?
reads,
How did he get on
"It is
it?
incredible that such an act can take place in our country. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin."
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country.
I agree with
One
Biden.
spectator was killed, 2 others injured. Pennsylvania State Police say the shots fired were scattered, with the injured and dead spread throughout the crowd.
He's going to get like a 10-minute standing ovation at the RNC, which is happening, I think, in like a day or two.
This morning, the FBI is named.
Yeah, man, it's wild, and I feel so bad for the family. That guy just wanted to show up and support the person he, wanted to vote for.
You're saying the guy that was killed?
Got killed, yeah. It's pretty sad.
That's incredibly sad. I mean, none of this should have happened. Again, none of this should have happened. And you get someone who's unhinged, who again is being manipulated, and again, I hate to use the term brainwash, but I mean, like, I think it aptly describes the situation. This kid was, I think, 20 years old. He's a man, but I mean, he's a young person.
And they're going to run with the long gun AR narrative. The left will just go.
Oh yeah, I've already seen it. I've already seen that.
Well, a lot of people were saying, well, if you wouldn't have had it to where anybody could buy a gun, this wouldn't have happened. But the reality is bad guys get guns. They're just available. I mean, you could go down to the ghetto down here and get yourself a gun easily. And it's like, it's not that hard and it's not that expensive. So it's like, come on, y'all. Like, bad guys get guns. This is not a good guy. You don't have a lot of just like normal civilians going up on a building and trying to shoot at the president. That's someone who's sick. There's
an older book I read in I think it was high school that I really liked called More Guns, Less Crime. And it was, I can't remember who wrote it, but
it's also statistically accurate.
Well, for example, the other night I'm sitting there, I was watching TV and doing some work, making some thumbnails for YouTube. And all of a sudden someone took a foot and kicked my front door, boom, real hard, and then ring the doorbell. And my first thing was I grabbed my gun. Like, if someone would have been breaking in, they would have been dead. I would have shot them. I was at the door looking through, and I think it was just ended up being some kids, probably, ding-dong ditching as we all have done. But it was the foot to the door that got me. And I was just like, okay. So basically, more guns, less crime is a real thing. If everybody thinks that everybody has a gun inside the house, they're less likely to break in and hurt somebody.
Well, and it goes back to that, what I talked about before with like the real dictators that want a dictatorship is the left agenda
to disarm.
Because why do you want to disarm the populace? Because they know, they full well that they can't actually do what their big picture would want to be for this country if people like you and me have the ability to defend ourselves. Because the thing is, did he have a sling? Was he did his gun? Did he have it slung behind his back while he was climbing? Like,
maybe he
like the guys that like overseas, we'd have guys on our ladder teams, and we'd have these kind of slick slings where you throw it, you tighten it, and then you'd climb up the ladder.
So I guess that answers your question.
Oh,
why don't these guys have drones in the air? Like, why? Like,
fair question.
They could have 5 drones running around.
Important too,
right? Like, I would think,
maybe that's how they got this shot. I just think, unfortunately, people are caught with their pants down. Honestly,
I mean, they should have like multiple drones flying around.
And I'm talking about even for our president, like right now, Biden. They should be doing this stuff. I have someone we know close to the family who's going to be doing a sniper position for Biden when he comes into town. And it's like, even though I know that guy happens to be very conservative, he's honored to have that position to defend his president.
Because you have to respect the
office.
The office.
And it's just like, that's the problem though. It's like, I've never hated, like, I'm not a fan of Biden, but I don't hate him. I don't get emotional about wanting to get him out of office.
Yeah.
I would never, that's stupid. I would be pissed if someone did the same thing to Biden.
Well, and agreed. And I think that therein lies the big problem when it comes to rhetoric in this country is I think that you sort of make the comment about like the right having morals. I think the right inherently is distrustful of authority, and the right is inherently intensely independent. And that breeds someone who asks questions and seeks their own information and is not willing to just accept an answer that is something along the lines of, well, because I said so. And so I think just an important point, I guess, to kind of wrap that up is that one of the other big differences I see with the right is that many of us on the right, for years, for decades, the right wing in this country has sort of well, we'll have to agree to disagree attitude. You do your thing, I'll do mine. I feel my way, and in my house, my family, this is how we're going to operate. We're all going to vote, and we're just going to, you know, we're going to abide by our government, our constitution. The left does not seem to operate that way in this country. There seems to be, like I said, an information problem as far as actually like filtering out good versus bad and information that is actual, you know, is actionable versus garbage. But there's much, much less leeway given by people on the left. You're either with us or you're against us, and you're Hitler.
I don't feel like it didn't used to be that way, though. Like, I feel like I knew some people who were Democrats, like hardcore left, and they were more like hippie, like loving, like back in the day. Right, they used to be where it's just like, well, that's just, you know.
There's a much more militant left.
It's militant left. Whereas I feel like it used to be just like, there were like hippies, and then there were like farmers. Like, it was just like, at least where I grew up. And look, check out this. The fact that someone could get that.
The independent thinker thing, just because I'm a movie quote guy. Like, you ever seen Demolition Man?
He was watching it the other night. Remember you said you watched
Dennis Leary's.
Wasn't it no, it wasn't Demolition Man. It was
with Stallone, Dennis Leary's speech in that he lives in the sewers. It's like the conservatives, because the whole society has become total libtard.
You told us about this.
Oh yeah, but no, it's that movie's ahead of its time, because if the left had their way, that would be our society, where every restaurant's Taco Bell, every dude's a beta walking around looking like a total tool. But all the real dudes are living in the sewers, and Leary's the leader, you know, and he gives a speech that is just, it's so great.
How's it go?
Just do Dennis Leary Demolition Man speech. It is one of the greatest speeches ever. Because basically Stallone asks him why he's deciding to live down in sewers versus, you know, up in a nice, up at ease society. Oh yeah.
I'm the enemy because I like to think. I like to read. I'm into freedom of speech and freedom of choice. I'm the kind of guy who likes to sit in a greasy spoon and wonder, gee, should I have the T-bone steak or the jumbo rack of barbecue ribs with the side order of gravy fries? I want high cholesterol. I want to eat bacon and butter and buckets of cheese, okay? I want to smoke a Cuban cigar the size of Cincinnati in a non-smoking section. I want to run through the streets naked with green Jell-O all over my body reading Playboy magazine. Why? Because I suddenly might feel the need to, okay, pal? I've seen the future. You know what it is? It's a 47-year-old virgin sitting around in his beige pajamas drinking a banana broccoli shake singing, I'm an Oscar Mayer wiener.
Wow.
And that
I've not seen that movie. I need to watch it.
So
wait.
You agree with Dennis Leary?
You're saying, is that the one where they have?
I'm saying like, I will live in the sewers.
So is he leading like the opposition revolution?
Yeah, because the actual, like, you know, above ground, you know, society is everything's controlled. Everything, government control, government legislation over every. I mean, if you swear, like, in that society, like, there's this little fine ticket thing that comes out that you're fined.
People talk about, like, they joke, but like they talk about like ESG scores and stuff, where, and then extrapolate that to like supposedly some of what goes on over in China, like your social credit score.
Yeah. Well, I guess
it's not that far off.
It's
well, a lot of people have given up their freedom for comfort and for safety, you know, and we see it again and again. Well, because of a certain event, people will give up their rights. We saw that even with 9/11, like the rights we gave up, even to, like, at that point in time, it was the Republicans. A lot of that, I forget the exact act, but, like, you know, it was like freedom of not freedom of information, but one of those. What was it called? Forgive me for not remembering.
Yeah, I know. It's on the tip of my tongue where they could now basically monitor
everything.
Yeah.
And what's the name? What's it called? Whatever it was was called, like, you know, Freedom for America, whatever. And everybody's like, who's going to vote against that? And what ended up happening was our rights have gone away. So
less freedom.
Less freedom. But, you know, like, look at this. Someone was able to get that probably with a cell phone. And it's just wild that they could get this.
I don't see.
And he's not, and they haven't turned his head into a canoe long ago while he's climbing up the friggin' roof.
I think, in summary, we need to unite for one thing in recognizing that this is a terrible tragedy for our country, that this would happen, and that we would get to this point. There's people out there who I know we don't and won't align with, who are lamenting the fact that Trump was not killed yesterday. Those are bad people, and I think we all need to condemn that. I don't care right, left, care who you are. Like, we need to at least unite around the common value that our president should not be shot and killed. And it needs to be called out on the right as well. Like if people are saying those things about Biden, like we can't operate as a country. We can't be unified as a nation and as, like fellow Americans if we can't even agree that our top leadership needs to be protected and saved. And I think, one of you guys mentioned this, like we need a little humility, and like we're going to practice that here. Like leave comments, challenge us. Like you said, challenge anything you're hearing here. We're going to try to have some humility. We'll engage in the comment section. I hope others will too. In keeping with the theme here, please, like, let's just try to debate this, have a discussion, keep it civil. We got to get back to that point where a point of civility, humility, actually seeking common ground with one another. And I think we have got to, you and I talk about this all the time with AI, but like we have got to pursue as a society accurate information. We have to value truth, authenticity, real information and content. And I think we need to hold our news media as accountable. If there's anyone who should be that we should be frustrated with about this, I do think there's an appropriate degree of frustration, and I feel it myself, of the state of our news media in this country. Like we need to demand better information and better reporting. It's not always just first to market. Stop manipulating and influencing the story. Like give us real news and real information that we as American people can like actually make a good assessment of the state of our leadership and vote accordingly. I don't know. Do you guys, is that fair?
Yeah. I want to say one thing to that. Don't let your For You page determine what you believe.
Seek it out yourself.
Seek it out. Read a book, for God's sakes. Look up like the way of thinking. Look up the law. Read the law. I know it's boring. Use ChatGPT to read the freaking law to you so you can understand. Look up words. Don't let your For You page be what determines your opinion. That's foolish, and it's not good for the country. We are a country that is just now being introduced to social media. Yes, it's about 15, 16 years old, but this is all new, and we're seeing the effects of it. And what it is a polarized country, and I freaking hate it. And I want to get back to the day and age where you could disagree with someone but still go out to dinner afterwards. And I feel like not everything is life or death. It's not, the left is not going to kill the right. The right is not going to kill the left. It's just like, it's not always that violent. What ends up happening is to a point where someone believes that Trump is actually Hitler, and what ends up happening is an innocent civilian died. And it's sad.
We almost need a war to unite us.
We're sitting here like dial down the temperature.
I mean, like I don't.
Coming from the guy who's been
with
to
a
war.
foreign power, you're saying?
Yeah, I mean something.
The thing that brings the kids together is eating the lunch lady.
Something external.
Dude, don't say that, because that's been used in the past to unite people all the time. It's like, we need a new villain. You see it through history all the time, where the people are turning on the emperor, and the emperor's like, did y'all hear about the barbarians coming to the gate? Let's unify. Oh,
I mean, I'm being a little,
but I get what you're saying. We saw that after 9/11, by the way.
I mean, something to, as a catalyst to drop our egos for a moment and have a greater cause.
It's going to be aliens.
I hope yesterday. I hope yesterday maybe is one of those catalysts. Like, I hope that we can recognize, because whether it was Trump or whether it was Biden, which thankfully it wasn't our sitting president, but like, we can't have people taking other people's lives and trying to kill our top leadership. Like, that cannot happen.
So leave us with kind of a thought. How well did they do at protecting him?
Soup sandwich. Yeah, unfortunately.
Which sounds like a mess.
And it's like they're still trying to serve, and they're still trying to do their job, but there's definitely, the machine broke down for that venue. Something was seriously overlooked.
People are going to lose their jobs, you think?
Probably not.
They're government. They won't lose their job.
No.
Something tells me though that protocol is going to be different for upcoming venues. Things are going to be handled a little bit differently. Hopefully a lot.
Well, I'm sure wherever Biden speaks next, it'll be a little different. Because again, it's like, some kook on the right could, okay, they're gonna do that. I'm gonna get even.
Don't do that. That's stupid.
It's
we don't want Kamala. I follow her Instagram, and I swear to God, sometimes I feel like it's a parody. And I look at it, it's an official. I'm like, oh, she released that video.
Have you ever seen
Everybody loves yellow scuba suits.
Have you ever seen like the transcript of some of her speeches, and you read it and you're like,
what?
What?
I know. I don't know, man. It's disappointing. Anytime there's a shooting, it's awful. And I just hate it. Some innocent bystander who was just wanting to go to a rally. That breaks my heart a bit.
Yeah.
But let's unite. Let's and look, for God's sakes, I just wish people would look into things. I swear, left and right. For gosh sakes, just dig into it for 5 minutes. You'll find most of it's not true that you're seeing.
And this is the last thing I'll say to Christians like myself out there. Pray for this nation.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, Paul told Timothy, I exhort first of all that prayers, supplications, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and all who are in authority, that we might lead a quiet and peaceable life with all godliness and reverence. And the reason he said all men, and think about the time when Paul made that wrote that to Timothy. Nero was the president, or president. He was power. He was a maniac, and he's still saying, as much as you don't like Biden, as much as you don't like this particular leader, still pray for him, so that maybe things can change and things can get better.
Ben, thanks for coming on. I know it was last minute.
It was great to be back.
Yeah, we'll do another one. We went to the border and looked at that whole situation. So
I would like to point out that bringing Ben along, like us two dipshits going down to the border for a week or whatever, like we had better security, I think, than
the president himself,
the president of the United States.
That is one thing about Ben, was when he walks into a room, he doesn't just walk into a room. He's like, all right, there's a window there, there's this, and it's like he's looking at the room. He's like, all right, I'm ready.
I don't know if you were paying attention. Most of the rooms that before we walked in, he was just tossing in a flashbang, he'd toss in a grenade most of the time before we even went in.
Yeah, like clear. All right, let's watch a movie.
Very true.
We did watch Sicario.
Yeah,
we did.
And we actually it's on our channel. That's people might recognize him now too.
That was
from
wild. I spent way too much time on that. I spent like 4 hours making it. You loved it.
I know. I was like, this is so great.
All right, well, man, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very, very cool.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. All right. I think we are out, right?
Yeah. If you guys like and subscribe, again, jump in the comment section. Let us know where you think we went wrong. I think it's important, again, have the discussions. So we'll be there. Thank you again. Appreciate it.